Today we are looking at scanning our environment. Any strategic supply chain professional ought to know how to scan the environment. Why are we scanning the environment? Last semester, we studied a paper called Business Environment, and we appreciated the environment within which we operate as procurement professionals. This environment can be volatile, hence the need to scan the environment, and several techniques have been put in place by several scholars on how to scan the environment. One of the ways of scanning our environment is, especially the external environment that we stress here, is by use of the pest analysis. It has been used for so many years, and it has helped companies review their environments. And after reviewing the environment, it is when then you decide which strategies to use to manage the turbulent environment. What is the environment? We know organizations who operate in an environment. From this diagram here, we can see that the organization is at the center, but it is surrounded by a very volatile environment, the macro and the micro environment. The darker pigmentation shows the micro environment. This is within the organization. The organization may have some control over the micro environment. You have the stakeholders you are working with, the customers, the suppliers, the competitors, the different channels. However, the outer one, which is the macro, is bigger. You have no control over it. For example, in the economy, you have things like foreign exchange rates. How do you control foreign exchange rates? How do you control a social factor like change in tastes? Today we're in Lent. Some people are not taking meat. Some people are abstaining from certain products. You have no control over that. It becomes very challenging. Technology. We have seen we're now in the era of fake news, which is being perpetuated by this technology. How do you control that? So one of the ways, like we say, the pest analysis, you look at the political, economic, social, and technological. In brief, politically or legally, you may look at the legislation in the country. For example, in Uganda, if you are a supply chain professional, what are the laws to do with environmental protection? If you're going to push for a strategy that of sustainability, are the government laws on your side? Environmental protection is very important because we are facing challenges of climate change. Has government embraced climate change? As companies, what are we doing to embrace this? By doing so, you're looking at the legal environment. It may be the taxation policy. If you're opening up a new company, what are the requirements? Does URA need something from you? Politically, if you're going into new territory, you want to distribute into Southern Sudan, Eastern Congo, what are the trade regulations there? You need to know before you open up a distribution channel there. Because here we're looking at distribution strategies. If you want to partner with someone in the new territory, you need to know the laws there. Government stability is very important. If you have been following the news, the traders that operated in government in the Southern Sudan have been pushing government for compensation. Compensation, not that the Ugandan government went to South Sudan and destroyed anything, no, but because of the instability in Southern Sudan. And they lost lots of money. So before entering any place, it's very important that you know about the government stability, because government stability pushes investments. We have just had a volatile, not really volatile election, but we had elections here. And you can see there was that tension. What will happen after? Will business continue? But thank God everything is now back to normal. We also need to look at the economic situation, economic environment that we're dealing with. For a business person, a supply chain manager, interest rates are very important, because if you're going to finance your operations, your strategies, you may have to borrow money. What is the cost of capital? We all know very well the cost of capital in Uganda is higher than the other East African countries, and yet those are your competitors. What are the implications of that? Inflation, too much money chasing too few goods. Will there be demand? What about disposable income? You may be producing, yes. You have developed a very good supply chain, even downstream, you're distributing in Capital Shoppers, ShopRite, everywhere. But if people don't have disposable income, those items are going to stay on the shelf. Even if you have the best distribution network in the country, no one is going to buy them. Energy availability. Energy is very important for production, infrastructure, energy infrastructure, production of goods and services. How is the availability of energy? A few years ago, we suffered with load shedding. Companies closed in Uganda because of load shedding. And that's why government is stressing the infrastructure part of it to ensure economic development. Social cultural factors. Demographics are very, very important. Uganda's population, over 50% are youth. What does that tell you? If you're going to produce anything, you want to produce something that will be consumed by these youth. If you're going to distribute, your distribution channel should be geared towards this demographic area. But also, the challenge is these youth in Uganda, for example, do they have disposable income? Now, that's where the question mark comes in. They may be high. What about disposable income? Are they able to spend? Which takes us to the next income distribution. If you look at the population dynamics, demographics, who have the income that they are spending on? This again is going to determine your distribution network. There are some goods that I cannot access in my village because of the income of the people in my village. So those companies that manufacture those goods never think of setting up distribution channels in my village. But if you go to Mbale town, you will find them. Lifestyle of people, very important to know. All these help you develop strategies, but you need to know. Consumerism is very important, yes, because if people are not consuming, then businesses are not making money. But we know consumerism is determined by income, disposable income, employment, education, also very important. Your market, how educated are they? Do they read the labels on the packages to know the content in the boxes? The sugar levels, carbohydrate levels, fat levels. This will help you determine your strategies. Technology is very, very important. Today we're in an era of technology. Social marketing. How has government invested in research and development? Internet availability. In January, we had an internet shutdown in this country for about 3-4 days. What was the impact of that shutdown on businesses? If we can quantify the impact of that shutdown, then we shall know the importance of technology in determining strategies. Right now, this is a recorded video, recorded lecture, thanks to technology. We're having online learning, blended learning because of technology. So therefore, it's very important to understand your market that you're dealing with. As a firm here, do you know your competitors? What strategies are they using? And Michael Porter emphasizes this: need to know your competition. Do you know your suppliers upstream? Are they working with your competitors? Do you know your competitors' suppliers? Do they have better inputs than your suppliers? What about your distribution channels downstream? Are you using a direct channel or a long channel whereby you go through a distributor to a retailer, then to a consumer? Or is it direct? Is your competitor using a direct channel? What are the implications of a direct channel? Today we even have virtual distribution stores like Jumia. How are you exploiting that? Do you have to rent a facility to act as a showroom? This helps you understand your market to determine which strategies you're going to opt, especially when it comes to downstream, to get to the final consumer. So when you review the environment, it gives you a clear picture of what you're dealing with, and then you develop strategies to help you become more competitive. We can also use the SWOT, SWOT analysis, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, to review our position in the marketplace. The SWOT market analysis analyzes both the internal and the external market. Internally in an organization, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And when we talk about strengths, we're talking about the things that we do well as a company. What differentiates you from the competitors? That unique selling point that you have. The human resources that you have who are skilled, trained, supply chain professionals, finance professionals, human resource professionals, marketeers who are skilled. These become a strength to you. The assets you have, like infrastructure, the properties you have, like warehouses, all those are your strengths. How can you use those strengths to your advantage as a company? Weaknesses. What are you missing in your organization? Are you lacking resources? Are you lacking human resource? What kind of resources are you lacking? Financial, human, or physical? In your market, you don't know where you are, whether you're a leader or a follower or a copycat. What is your competitor doing better than you? Opportunities. Now, opportunities show you what is ahead that you can use, you can exploit. Those are chances that you can use to become competitive. What opportunities do you have? You may be in an area which is with very few competitors. Your product may be unique. Opportunities, for example, government may be promoting things like renewable energy. One of the biggest challenges facing businesses in Uganda is energy. The cost of energy, power, a unit goes for over 800 shillings. Now, if government is saying you can bring in renewable energy equipment at no taxation, why don't you exploit that as a business? If one of the things that you're using inputs is water, Uganda tends to be, depending on where you're located, if you have regular rainfall, why don't you maybe harvest water? This is an opportunity you can exploit if water is a very big input in your final product. Then we have threats. Threats may be substitutes to your product, which may be the competition, the law. But why should the law be a threat? The law will be a threat if you're not complying. For example, if there is a law on packaging because of the drive for sustainability, and you're still using Kavera, this will be a threat to you because you're failing to comply. Law regarding emissions of cars because of pollution. At times, the threats may come from the press, negative media. We talked about technology, how technology is really a threat to many businesses today because anyone can come up with fake news. Sometime back, I remember someone came up with a funny story about Yuga chip, which was not true, but it had already a trend. Customers' tastes and preferences keep changing every day. How do you manage such? We talk about forecasting, predicting, but now the customer is very unpredictable. This is a very big threat to businesses. So that is the SWOT analysis we're talking about. Your weaknesses may be lack of skills in the people. You may have a poor distribution network. Your strength may be the purchasing power of the people that we talked about, the consumerism. But it's very important that we all carry out a SWOT analysis of our organization and understand our internal and external environment. You can see under the threats we talked about few suppliers. This takes us back to the earlier lecture of understanding the market. How many suppliers? The chronologic matrix, supplier risk. We also need to know our competitive strategies as an organization. Our competitive strategy will determine what strategies we're going to opt for as in our logistics structure, in our supply chains. It will enable you know the degree to which your supply chain is integrated, where you are positioned. Are you a cost leader? Are you a differentiator? Are you focusing on a certain particular segment? Now, Michael Porter comes up with his generic strategies here. Are you into differentiation? Are you into cost leadership or focus? Overall cost leadership. What do we mean by this? You as an organization, you want to get the product to the customer at the lowest cost possible. Differentiation, you're looking at having a unique product. You tailor it to the customer's requirements. Let's look at someone in a market. He's been working the whole day. Very thirsty, he wants to drink. And he will go and buy a bottle of water or packed water in a Kavera at the cost of 100 shillings. Anything above 100, he is not going to buy. His interest is in the lowest cost. Now, when you're serving such a customer, you need to get the product to him at the lowest cost. Or maybe in a restaurant at UCU, wants to eat a plate of food at 2,000 shillings. And then there's that customer who wants his goods in a different way. He may want his water customized, his shirt with his name, BPLM2, customized to his requirements. His food with a salad, maybe with chops to eat. He wants a juice, not just juice, he will want maybe a cocktail juice. When he's going to eat food, he wants to have a starter, the main dish, and then dessert. That's what he's looking at, differentiation. So you, as an organization, what are you looking at? To get your product to the customer at the lowest cost, or you're looking at the value advantage of tailoring it to the customer's requirements? But then also, you can segment your market. Market can be segmented looking at income, demographics, very many factors, social status. Different market segments have different requirements. And then you opt to focus on that particular market segment. Let's look at the telecom companies, for example. They tend to segment their markets, and they know that the youth tend to spend the night talking on phones or sending messages or watching videos. And you'll find that during the night, they tend to have those packages that are focused on that age group, who will spend the whole night awake downloading videos, chatting with their friends. Now, someone who has to take a child to school is not going to do that. So they're not focusing on that market. So, are you a cost leader? Are you a differentiator? This you have to decide as an organization. If you're a differentiator, you have to be agile. You have to be responsive to the customer's needs. Differentiation is about being responsive. And this is what we talked about last semester when we were looking at supply chain management practice. And yet a cost leader tends to be lean because he tries to remove all the wastes in the supply chain. So those are the three strategies put forward by Michael Porter, a guru in strategy. We have a lot of reading material available for you at the library about these different strategies. However, a competitive strategy is going to be determined by several things. We talked about the SWOT analysis. The competitive strategy you opt for will be determined by your strength as an organization. What are your strengths, the internal factors? What are your values? What do you value? Is it customer service? Do you want to see your customer very happy? If you're going to be a differentiator as an organization, there's some strength you need to have. You need to have availability of resources. You need to have skilled people who are flexible and agile. The competitive strategy is going to be determined by the threats you're facing and the opportunities in the industry. If, for example, disposable income is low, the chances of you opting for a differentiation strategy will be very low. Because once disposable income is low, people want to have goods at a low cost because they don't have money to spend. So there you have no choice, you have to become a cost leader. So therefore, as you can see, all these work hand in hand. You cannot run away from one or the other. So that is how we scan the environment within which we are operating. Thank you very much.